Wow, winning.
Richie and Michelle on Pure Morning.
Good morning to you. It is Michelle and Richie. We'll be bringing you through until 10. I hope you've all survived the weekend. Coming up, we are going to be talking to Noel Gallagher a little bit later on, and we've got loads of deadly tunes, including this one. It's Peter, Bjorn and John. This is Young Folks.
Who's that we're talking to later?
Noel Gallagher.
Noel Gallagher.
Yeah.
On this show.
Yeah.
You're having a laugh.
No.
He'd never come on here.
Well, he is.
Noel Gallagher.
Yes, Richie.
The bloke from Manchester. With the Oasis and that.
That's him.
Well, I'll
You'd be
believe,
alright for that.
I'll believe it when I hear
You better
it.
be.
Blur and Country House on Pure Morning, 29 minutes past 8 o'clock. It's Richie and Michelle here with you until 10.
And coming up, we're going to be speaking to, well, pretty much God, really, isn't he?
He is to some people.
It's not far off it.
to Junkie, who's seen him, I think, a total of 17
million times.
billion times. Yeah. Also, as well, to Michael on Facebook, who simply referred to him as G.O.D.
Yeah.
David as well, calling him a legend. He is simply Noel Gallagher. And
Yeah.
we'll be talking to him right here on the show.
Yeah.
Part one of our interview with him coming up very, very shortly
Yeah, we're
indeed.
also good. So we've got ourselves a godlike genius on the phone now, Noel Gallagher. How are you getting on?
I'm very well, good morning.
How are you doing,
morning
Noel?
to
You
you.
alright?
I'm brilliant.
Good stuff. Come here to me. How was Australia, first of all?
Oh, it's great. Have you ever been there?
Not yet. I have a sister living down there at the minute.
It's mental, that country. It's insane.
Really? How so?
I don't know. It's just kind of like a... See, I watch the news a lot when I'm down there, and it's mad. It's mad. It's like a spoof Monty Python news kind of thing. It's crazy. And another thing.
Right.
I've never seen one kangaroo.
What a rip-off.
Not one.
That's not good enough. We're going to have to send you back.
There's no fellas walking around with corks on the end of cowboy hats.
Rubbish.
None of that.
Rubbish.
Right? Do you know what's great about it?
Go on.
It's got slightly different chocolate bars than what we've got in the UK.
They're kind of the same, but almost different.
Yeah, they've got this. It's fascinating going in supermarkets. Not that I do. I get someone else to do that for me. But, you know, airport lounges looking at chocolate going, what is this? What does this mean? It's brilliant.
So come here, you released the debut album back on October 17th and it went straight in at number 1. Congratulations with that. How did that feel for you?
It was great, but it wasn't the best thing that happened that day, because that day was the day that City walloped Man United 6-1 at Old Trafford. So the album going in at number 1, which I found out after that, was a bit of an anticlimax, to be honest.
I can imagine. Oh my God.
Yeah, but it was if Carlsberg did Days, that was one of the best days.
It was right up there. It also bet out, I think it was your man, did Matt Cardle have his album out the same day? Did that
He did, right, yeah, he did. I thought with him being from the X Factor, he was destined to go to number 1, so I wasn't really that bothered, to be honest, having had 9 number 1 albums anyway. It doesn't really bother me that much. But, you know, I'd kind of met him out at an award ceremony the week leading up to the charts coming out, and, you know, he's a nice guy, and he was like... I was kind of hoping he'd get it for him, do you know what I mean? Because he's a lovely lad, you know, and there you go. But what can I say? The cream always rises to the top eventually.
Well, that's
there you have it.
That's true. Come here to me, was it true that, speaking of X Factor, I saw this on Jonathan Ross, I don't know how much you were spoofing him, that you were approached by Cowell to replace him as a judge. Is that fact? Yeah, I had a very long conversation with him about it. Yeah, it was all true. It was all true that you were approached.
I was offered the Gary Barlow slot, or what became known as the Gary Barlow slot.
Okay.
It's actually known as the Noel Gallagher slot.
We're
but I
actually
just didn't take it.
Disappointed then that you didn't take it, because he was like watching paint dry.
Well, that's not for me to say. I only seen the first 3 weeks I was away on tour then, but it wasn't, you know, I had a couple of phone calls with Simon Cowell, and it's just not for me, do you know what I mean? He was insistent that it was, and I was more insistent that it wasn't, and he was effectively trying to force me into doing it. You will be on the X Factor, young man. I don't want to be.
Ah, bless. Come here to me. Like, I know, obviously, with Oasis records and all that, like, it was mostly your songs, if not all of them, on the records. For this being your own solo album, did it mean more to you putting this out? Were you at least a little bit nervous when it came to release time?
Well, I don't know whether it meant any more, because Oasis is an enormous part of my life, and I invested everything that I had into that band. So I don't think that what I'm doing now could be any more special than that group and those songs that I wrote when I was in my 20s. It just couldn't be. Do you know what I mean? But saying that, when I was listening back to the final mixes of the album as they were coming off in the studio over the month of mixing, I was thinking, God, this really is a good collection of songs. So I was excited. I don't really get nervous about releases of albums because all you can do is the best in the studio. You can't really make a person buy a record. So really, once it's done, you just put it out there and let it go. I don't. To be quite honest, I don't know how many it's sold. I couldn't tell you. I don't ask. I'm not bothered. Do you know what I mean? It's like if it sold 10 million or if it sold 100,000, it doesn't make it any less or more a record. I know what I feel about it. And that any amount of record sales ain't going to make it any better or worse for me.
Well, come to me around about the same time that the album came out. Yeah, obviously started your tour here in the Olympia, and obviously you're coming back as well on the 17th. But what is it about Ireland that made you start off the tour here?
Well, I don't get involved in the geography of tours where they start and where they finish. But I've got to say, I was quite. It was like, oh, nice, Dublin. When I got the schedule through, somebody called me and said, your first gig's in Dublin. And I was like, oh, wow, perfect. You know what I mean? I guess if I could pick 3 cities in the UK to start, one would be Dublin, one would be Manchester, and one would be kind of Glasgow, because it's where Oasis were discovered. So they're kind of 3 symbolic places. And Dublin it was. And I was like, great, be nice to stick it to a lot of United fans on the day we beat them 6-1.
Yeah, that was the thing, because I remember people talking about it, just saying you were just in flying form, because that was the night that you guys bet Man United. So double bonus for us that day. And then you've got actually your O2 gig on the 17th, which is completely sold out as well. So we can't get enough of you, obviously, over here.
Well, obviously everybody knows my ancestors hail from Ireland, you know what I mean? Right, I don't have actually one single drop of English blood in me. My mum and dad are both Irish, and it's a special place for us in the Gallagher family. Always has been and always will be, you know what I mean? And Dublin is a great, regardless of what I feel about it, as a first generation Irish lad, it's a great city anyway, you know what I mean? And it's not only special for me, any band who gets to play there will tell you they always have great nights there. Do you know what I mean? And so it's great on many levels. And I've got to say, if only for the silver mints and the Tato crisps and those little emerald.
Oh, the emerald sweets! We were just talking about this during the week. Do you ever try Tato with dairy milk together?
Oh, they're a winner.
Yes,
good
on you.
An absolute winner.
I'm so chuffed now.
Do you still? I spoke to you a couple of years ago, Noel, and you mentioned that you'd holiday here and how you'd have little breaks here. Is that still the case, or as the kids get older, is it a harder place to bring them to?
No, my mum's got a house over there in Mayo, and